It was February 2005. There were 80 infants under 5 years old. I remember the stench, the chaos, and most of all, the absence of love. The one thing that every child needs more in life than anything else. I still wake up sometimes hearing the haunting cries of those frightened babies rocking alone and screaming themselves into an eerie, hopeless silence. In one filthy cot, soaked in urine, 3 tiny babies lay without nappies. I picked up a screaming, hungry little girl called Pumi, one of the few children who had a name, not a number. She melted into my arms and looked at me with absolute trust, and she stopped crying. And in that moment, I made her a promise that was to change her life and mine forever. My business was actually organising luxury travel, and because my middle son, Adam, played cricket for Surrey, I had the privilege of arranging the first ever youth county cricket tours to Sri Lanka. I soon became a passionate destination specialist, organising weddings and honeymoons and holidays and everything, and we enjoyed our family Christmas holidays there. It was all but a twist of fate that on just before Christmas in 2004, our plans changed at the last minute. Otherwise, I might not have been here to tell you this story. The Asian tsunami killed 35,000 people and affected 2 million lives in Sri Lanka alone. And my eldest son, Ryan, decided to volunteer in the massive cleanup where JCBs were non-existent and bricks and rubble needed to be moved by hand. I couldn't let him go alone. I walked into that orphanage as a travel director, but I came out with a mission that I couldn't ignore: to uncage these children and find love for every single one of them. So their future today was born not as a gesture of charity, but an act of justice. Across Sri Lanka, 9,000 children are forgotten and grow up behind the walls of orphanages. But here's the shocking truth, that more than 80% of these children are not orphans. Most are there because of poverty, often from loving but uneducated families who lack the means to support their children and believe orphanages are their only option, not realizing the emotional and physical harm that's caused. These young people age out of orphanages, unable to cook, budget, build relationships, or even cross a road safely, because institutional care does not teach them how to live in the real world. Many fall into criminality, exploitation, prostitution, and some take their own lives. As one care leaver told me, it's not that we don't want to live, but we don't know how to. We began by improving conditions in that orphanage and providing up to 20 house mothers trained in childcare. We built a bakery to provide institutionalized girls with vital skills training, and we support teenage mothers to prevent separation. We invest in schools and give thousands of school book packs, which families say are more valuable than gold, as education can break this cruel cycle of poverty. We launched a school meals program so low-income families didn't feel pressurized to abandon their malnourished children that they couldn't afford to feed. And remember Pumi? Well, in 2010, she was the first child that we reunited with her mother and the brother that she never knew she had and had never seen. We built them a home and helped the family become sustainable. And today, well, Pumi is one of our classroom assistants in our rural preschool, which we opened 10 years ago to help prevent abandonment for families without childcare. Reuniting children with their families and building them homes has changed their worlds, but not the world that they're living in. To find love for every one of these forgotten children, archaic systems must change. That's why, at the same time as painstakingly rebuilding lives one by one, we've been driving reform at national level. We bring in specialist global partners and provide alternative family and foster care training to childcare services, demonstrating that family-based care is not only possible, but better for every single child. Our proudest moment was influencing Sri Lanka's first national alternative family care policy, a landmark shift away from institutions towards family care. This year, the UK Foreign Office launched a global charter to unite countries in ending institutionalization of more than 5 million children worldwide. TFT has proudly endorsed it because the tragedy of children growing up without ever knowing what it feels like to feel loved goes far beyond Sri Lanka's borders. Everything achieved over 2 decades of advocacy, listening, learning, and fighting has led to this moment where we now have a coalition of NGOs, orphanage managers who are one voice calling for change. Care leavers are the voice and they are the story. And they've become our partners and care leaders, driving campaigns and speaking at global conferences to shape new policy. This is the moment where compassion becomes momentum, where practice meets policy, where institutional care finally begins to give way to family care. Our aim, with your help, and at this time in Sri Lanka, we need it more than ever, to keep families together and also introduce something that Sri Lanka has never seen before, which is the launch of the first foster care pilot, a new concept to prevent the institutionalization of even more children, which are so vulnerable there right now. This is what system change looks like. No child growing up without love, no child spending their childhood lost and waiting, and no child left behind, not in Sri Lanka, not anywhere. Thank you.